Hey sisters, in this week's video I talk about Facebook, my developing Facebook strategy. I talk about Facebook Live and how important that is to Facebook because Facebook are trying to become more of a communications tool, not just a page where you stay in touch with family and friends. And I also talk about getting Facebook likes. It's a developing strategy and I think this is something we'll come back to again and again, my interactions with Facebook. But enjoy this video, I hope you find it helpful and I will talk to you really soon. Hello sisters. Good morning, afternoon or evening depending on when you're watching this. This week I'm going to talk about Facebook. Before I do, however, you might notice that I've decided that I need more tools for the job, more kit as it were. So I have my brand new perfect microphone, which I have put a pink cover on. I am sorry, I'm a bit of a girl. Pink pen, pink microphone, I think I'm going to become a princess. And I've also got some lights so that you can see me properly. So unlucky for you, unfortunately now you can hear me and can see me. So tools have been something that I've been talking about this week to myself, what I need. I've made a whole list of things that I might come back to at the end of this video. But this video is all about Facebook. Now the good news is that my target audience, my Bettys, love you. You like Facebook. The bad news is that I hate Facebook, and it's only because I haven't used it. There's no other reason. It's just that I am so unfamiliar with this particular tool. So obviously I've set up Twitter and I've set up Instagram and I've set up Pinterest and I've set up YouTube, and YouTube will be a separate video. And if you want instructions on how to do that, that's cool, we can do that. But the one that I have really struggled with is Facebook, not least because if you set up your own personal Facebook account, that's not that difficult. And if you're talking to family and friends, that's also cool. But if you want to set up a business page on Facebook, things start to get a little bit more complicated, particularly if you want to post from Instagram to your Facebook and connect the two or connect it with Twitter. So you need to become an administrator and set up business pages. So Facebook for me has become a little bit of a nemesis, but it's been a great learning experience. I'm finding out so much more about Facebook and how it can help us all. So it's been a bit of a nightmare, but Facebook is an important tool. Some of the things that I have learnt because I've had to get to grips with this is depending on where you are in your Facebook journey, how the screens present themselves to you will change. So even if you go to YouTube and look at videos or go to the Facebook help page and you look to find what you want to do, depending on where you actually are, it might not present exactly as they tell you. I also spent a long time watching a LinkedIn tutorial about Facebook and I still had the same problem. So for me, the only way to learn Facebook is to do it. So that's good news for you, I think. So I have now set up a mastermind group on Facebook. Please join me over at Brainy Biscuit mastermind group on Facebook. I would love to have your input and your viewpoints. So that's why it's been a bit of a challenge. But the other thing that I have learned is I actually don't have any friends. But that's just my personal life. But in a business sense, driving traffic to my business page is going to be a really interesting experience. Because if you don't have anyone to start with, you kind of can't start the ball rolling. Now, Facebook has become much more of a communications tool. They're trying much harder to be a communications platform, hence Messenger, which obviously they want us all to use all of the time, and also Facebook Live. So all of the advice tells me that I should be doing Facebook Live videos, which is great. And yes, I'm going to start doing them and you're going to start hearing from me on Facebook. The challenge being, of course, if you don't have anybody to talk to, you'll still be one hand clapping out there in the ether. So what I've discovered looking at some of the people who use Facebook on a really regular basis is the best way to actually drive traffic to Facebook is to actually advertise. Now there are two ways of advertising. There are good old-fashioned adverts and there are ways of boosting your posts. So I'm hoping that I get a really good, exciting, informative post and I can boost that, or maybe do some advertising campaigns to reach you guys, because I really do want to reach you guys. So it's becoming a different tool. So from a business point of view, in order to drive, and this is not exclusively, by the way, but in order to drive traffic, it looks like you might have to invest a little bit of money. You can do it slowly, organically. You can do it through your own personal page by contacting people and asking them to join your groups. Of course you can. But if you want to go from here to hero, then you are probably going to have to invest some kind of money into this. Now, obviously, you can drive traffic from other media to your Facebook page. So I am absolutely going to be putting it as a resource on my YouTube. Join me in my mastermind group in Facebook, obviously. And you can pop it out onto LinkedIn and Twitter and your other social media. The challenge, of course, is you're driving everybody from one social media platform to the next social media platform. So you kind of have to put a stake in the ground as to where you want people to end up. Do you want them to end up on your YouTube because that's where your best interaction is? Or do you want to end them on Facebook because you can have a two-way dialogue? So you need to make these kind of decisions. So for me, promoting my Facebook page will probably be a paid for start. Not entirely. I'm obviously going to publicise my Facebook group through YouTube, and I'm certainly going to be promoting things like Facebook Live, etc. via my LinkedIn page. So that I will be driving traffic to Facebook organically, but I need to sort of get the ball rolling. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is doing a small advertising campaign to get some likes. Now, this is where it becomes quite circular. In order to get your page boosted, you need to get it liked, and in order to get it liked, you need to get your page boosted. And there are certain things you can only do after you've got a certain number of Facebook followers or a certain number of likes, or you need to invite people to pages before they can interact with you. So there's all sorts of quirks and foibles that are very much Facebooky, which is a new word. So yeah, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to run a very small advertising campaign once I've got some of my feed going. Please look, because I have decided to put some of the quotes that I put out on Instagram and some of the photos and some of the videos that I put out on Instagram on Facebook, along with other content and along with other information in my mastermind group. But in order to make this more popular, then I'm going to have to drive some likes. And I think that's going to be an advertising campaign just to drive likes. Obviously, if you don't like it, you don't have to like it. Not only is this important for me in terms of reach, because I want to reach people quickly, not as I said necessarily just organically, but it's also really important in terms of credibility. Because Facebook is one of those places where people go to check you out, to check out that you are real and that you do exist. And that kind of comes back to the Facebook Live stuff. Yep, I'm a real person really doing all this without any smoke and mirrors. But if you are going to become credible, then you need to get likes. Likes is a great way of social proof. It proves to other individuals that you're serious and that other people actually like your stuff. And as social animals, we are more likely to interact together if other people do that. And that's how you need to make a start. So I think that's where I'm going to go. So I've set up a group. I've got to grips with some of the tools of Facebook, and I'm sure I'll be doing other videos about Facebook tools. I'm going to be doing Facebook Live for you on quite a lot of occasions, and I will probably record those videos and post them on the YouTube channel so that you can see how it all sort of becomes circular and how it all interacts. I'm going to do, I think, a small advertising campaign at some point in the future to see if I can drive some likes, not least because I need to know what you guys want to know. So if I get some likes, apart from it being a really important business tool for me, it's a way of me testing what it is you guys want to talk about. So if you don't like it, then it's a pretty big hint, I think. So that will inform my thinking, and that's kind of where I am in terms of Facebook. Now, I think last week I mentioned something that I think is really important. The content that you put out is hugely, hugely important. People need to be able to relate to it, potentially interact with it, and they need to like it. But again, it's back to this social proof scenario. They also need to be able to feel comfortable that then when they share that information, not only will it be useful to the person they have shared it with, but they will look good for sharing it. So that's a really important part of my Facebook strategy, because I've got this mastermind group on Facebook, because that's where I actually do want to drive people to, so that I can have a conversation with you guys, so that we can get together and understand what it is that we find challenging and how we might actually solve that. So that's kind of my Facebook strategy. So likes, a little bit of advertising, lots of Facebook Live, understanding the nuts and bolts, which I'll obviously keep coming back to, trying to build some really valuable content that relates to you guys. So that's this week over in a nutshell. What I have realised, however, which I will probably be talking about next week, because I'm going to go off and start doing it now, is that I actually need more resources and more tools. So yes, I've got my Instagram set up, my Facebook, my Twitter, my YouTube and my Pinterest. The problem is, in putting all this stuff out there, I suddenly realised that I need to put captions on things. I need to be able to design things that make things so it makes sense for you guys. I need to be able to put titles on videos. I need to be able to create a feedback loop so you can talk to me. So I need to have some way of collecting your email addresses so that we can start a conversation. I need some way of storing all of this. I need some way of making sure that I hit data protection rules, for example. So I'm suddenly going to need a whole lot more resources. So I'm investigating other things such as Canva and MailChimp and videos and other tools that will be really useful. So that's what I'm starting to have a look at this week. So I think that's probably going to be the bones of the conversation for next week. Okay, lovely to chat to you again, sisters, and I will talk to you really, really soon.